Inua Ellams.
Awesome. So here goes. First slide, please. My name is Inua Ellams, and I was born in Nigeria. That isn't me, obviously. I was born in Nigeria, and I looked kind of like that when I was born, kind of free fall out of my mother. Like, yo, that's what's happening. And I was born in 1984, and typically children are born with identities. So I was born, and instantly I wanted to be my father, as most boys want to. He was the bastion of manhood as far as I'm concerned. My father was a businessman, and my first role when I became a businessman was to design my own city. So I sat down, I was about 4 years old, and planned a whole city, and I showed my father. And he was so proud of me, he folded it and put it into his briefcase and took it to work. And for me, that felt like God had floated down and patted in my head like, nice one, son. The world is yours. Go mold as you please. And I lived in Nigeria until I was 11. And just when I thought I had figured it out, I moved to London. I came when I was 12 years old, and this was my oldest friend. This was me. I was 12 years old at the time. My model, I fashioned my fashion sense after Steve Urkel. You guys remember Urkel? And that was me at the time. And this was the first guy I really met. His name was Jack, and Jack was the guy who offered to walk me around school on my first day. And again, I had massive identity problems. I was African. I lived, and I arrived in Holland Park, which was so multicultural at the time. It felt like being introduced to the world, the whole entire world in my classroom. And I didn't know who I was supposed to be. I was 12 years old, massive identity crisis and displacement problems. And Jack walked me through school, and we had to navigate the sprawling city, really, of kids, of the whole world in this small, compact environment. And we navigated the rules and regulations, the do's and the don'ts. And next slide, please. And we schooled in Holland Park. And it was actually Nelson Mandela visited like the week before I started schooling. I was so pissed. Like, I found the person whose hand he shook last and shook it vigorously, And so the school was around Notting Hill Gate and around Holland Park and around High Street, Kensington. And for me, this was my London. My identity as an African and as a Nigerian spread across these three different these parts of London, and I loved it. And again, just when I thought I had it figured out, all settled, I moved to Dublin. And I lived in a place called Tala, which was on the outskirts of Dublin, which was crazy, like mass poverty and problems. And when I started schooling there, I was the only black boy in the entire school. So the first day where you tried to blend in, did not work. It was just, and again, it was a whole new city, a whole new society I had to try and fit in. And again, massive identity problems. There were already stereotypes. You could be the basketballer, the dude who smokes weed, the rapper. And I was African with a little bit of Nigerian and English and Irish. And I just, it just wasn't working on any of the fronts. And also was wondering, how would I navigate the city? Who was I supposed to be? Again, identity crisis, displacement in this new world. Next slide. And again, see, identity problems. This was a beauty pageant, and the boys had to dress up as girls. Again, we were the ones objectified, and it was fun. And after a while, I guess I figured it out somehow. In my penultimate year, I organized the first ever arts festival in the school I went to. Eventually, I became the vice president of student council. And again, I thought I had it figured out. It was all good. And then in 2002, came back to London. Slide. And again, I arrived in London, and I was 18 years old, and essentially, I was anonymous. There wasn't a society I could easily be plugged into. I had left the safety of school, meaning that there were no rules and regulation. I had to figure out my own London, figure out how I would fit in. So again, identity problems, displacement problems, destiny problems. I had massive immigration problems at the time. I couldn't work. At the time, I wanted to be a visual artist, and I couldn't afford to buy paint. So what I would do is I would wake up, I began to write poetry, and I just started walking through the city. I met up with Jack, and Jack had changed vastly as I had. I think I'd grown out of my Urkel. I think I was navigating some Usher kind of thing at the moment. It wasn't really working. And again, I had to rebuild my social network. I had to rebuild my friendships. And I met Jack late one night. And as if we were in school again, we just began to walk through the city. We met at the Battersea Arts Centre, we saw a play, and after that, we were waiting for a bus, and the bus didn't come. So we got bored and began to walk the bus route. And after 15 to 20 minutes, we got bored and just began to just walk randomly. And we did so for about 6, 7 hours. We left Battersea, we crossed over to South Kensington, that part of the world, arrived around Sloane Square, walked through Knightsbridge, past Hyde Park Corner, past Victoria, and from Pimlico all the way past the Vauxhall. And we stopped at about 2, 3 a.m. opposite the MI5 buildings. And we had walked through parts of London which we thought we knew but rediscovered all over again. We watched the city go to sleep and wake up. We discovered new courtyards and old basketball courts where we played, and we just really walked and talked, and that was it. And we had so much fun. We thought this would be cool to do with like a bunch of people. So the following year, I met up with Jack and his friends, thank you, and mostly Jack's friends, and we just pissed around the streets of London from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. We ate, we danced. Essentially, though, all we did was we walked and we talked a lot. And again, we had so much fun. We just thought this might be cool to do with other people. And at the time, I had like a relatively healthy mailing list of people who liked my poetry work. And I began to email them, hi, my name is Inua. You've only seen me read a poem or something, but I do this thing where I gather people and we just walk through the city. Would you like to come with me? And crazily enough, they said yes. So my first midnight run was held the following year, and I gathered strangers, and we just walked through the city, and I began to run little poetry writing workshops, and we began to eat and find little clubs where we could dance. And all of it was just about walking and talking, really, and trying to build a mobile community and to create a new identity within the city for one night only, for a specific duration of time. Next slide, please. And this is what contemporary life in a city looks like. We're crammed together. I realized also that the balance had tipped. More people live in cities now than live in the suburbs, in the outskirts. And a lot of cities are full of immigrants, whether they be national immigrants or international immigrants. People come here to live, and they come here for a reason. Not many people are born in London anymore. People come to London to work. The speed of commuting in London is so fast that we hardly have time to actually engage with people on public transport. Loneliness in cities is growing. Suicide rates are spiraling, just increasing right across the world. There seems to be increasing loneliness in cities, which is weird if you think about how cramped we are in really close proximity, cramped together. And essentially we seem to, that's why I guess online dating sites like OkCupid and eHarmony are growing up, because we find it easier to engage with people when they're not in front of us for some weird reason. And also there's an increasing erosion in public spaces, like parts of the cities being increasingly commercialized. And all of the things are what we navigate when we do midnight runs. We just try to slow down time for people to walk and talk and be with each other, for people who they have never met before and might never do again. Next slide, please. And this is a picture taken from one of the first proper midnight runs, where people just hung around with me for 12 hours through the city. We have no political motivations. We have no directive, simply to explore our city as a child might do a maze, or boy through a new school. And we try to spend time with one another. We eat, we dance. This was taken at next slide, please. At the Souk Medina in Covent Garden. Do you guys know where that is? And about 30 of us piled into there at about 11 a.m. We sat, ordered mint tea, and wrote poetry by candlelight. We finished, we walked through the streets again. Next slide. There was an architectural festival going through the city of London, and we just visited these sculptures, and we created art based on it, like plays about wood and waves, for instance, which is a lot of fun. Next slide, please. Have you heard of Guerilla Gardeners here? Yeah, so these are guys who invade like traffic islands and just plant daffodils and flowers. And we invited them to come to the midnight run. To each midnight run, I invite 5 artists, photographers, filmmakers, whatever. And their job is just to come to share their art forms, to document the midnight run through their art forms as well, and really participate. So this is a massive traffic island by Blackfriars Bridge. And about 3 to 4 a.m., there were 30 of us on our hands and knees planting daffodils and hibiscus into the ground. And I remember like 2 police squad cars pulled up and we handed them flowers and it just drove off into the sunset. It was beautiful. And the next slide, please. And this was us finishing at 6 a.m. outside the Houses of Parliament. Big Bell clanged us and we cheered Big Ben. And then we finished the midnight run. Next slide. The beauty of the midnight run, which is what I call these events when I gather people to walk with me, is that it can be tailored to every festival, to any festival, as long as it's a city that doesn't sleep. This was created for the Create Festival, which happens in East London. And we met and we just played through the city again. There's a group of, there's a theater company who's based in this area. We met them at the Barbican and we sat there and they just ran essentially theater workshops with us. The next slide, please. Right, and this is us interacting with them in the Barbican space. The next slide, please. And also, we just play games and tricks on unsuspecting public men. So this was at Piccadilly Circus, and we do these things where we just freeze, we just strike poses for about 2 minutes, and people gathered around taking pictures of us. And which is weird because when you take a picture, it's still anyway. So it was almost pointless, yeah. But for 12 hours, we create a mobile community, essentially, and we walk through the city and engage with public and with each other. The next slide, please. We walked down an alley not too far from here, and there was an organization which worked with homeless people, and we sat outside and we wrote thank you notes to them and just stuck it outside their front gates with postcards. And this was another midnight run event, and where we found this beautiful, beautiful courtyard outside a private building association. And we just sat there and just told stories to each other for about 2 hours. It was well lit. And this is the thing, we try to find places that do exist within the city that are well lit at night, and we create things to do there. And the next slide, please. And I curated a midnight run for the South Bank Center, and one of the artists featured was a holistic therapist. And we sat down and she told us the basics of just massage therapy. And this is only a small section, there were about 30 of us just massaging each other. It was very weird, but beautiful as well. Next slide, please. We sat in a courtyard and just wrote poetry. This was created for a group of practitioners from the African continent. They were here for a 2-week exchange at the South Bank Center. And my job was to create a midnight run for them, just to explore the city of London, but also to engage with local artists as well. And we found a courtyard and just wrote poems about identity and displacement and what it means to be an African within the city, a lot of which I could relate to. Next slide, please. And I guess the questions of why do the midnight run. One, not only for the physical and health benefits, which are obvious, or for the mental health benefits, but simply because we have to live in our cities, not just work in them. And simply, our prime objective is to have fun. I'm going to show you a little film now. Yeah, I hope you like this.
Time with what I have already lost. You got all the things you need. Love is all is you and your team. So be sure to make them happen. Back it on bending knees. They were going around with me. Move it once, move it twice. Come on, baby, don't leave your side. They're shrouding on 1 after 99. Get my bags, run to the station. Then I said, I gotta run a location, yeah. Get my bags, run right home. Then I find I got a number on the way. They say trying to run 1 after 9. Oh, your steam. You were yours, only yours, like your dream. So be sure to
So the Midnight Run is going international because, again, there are cities that exist in other parts of the world, regardless of language barrier, who also go through the same thing, the same problems of loneliness, of attempting to navigate your city and create a place you live in, not just a place you work in. I have 3 or so slogans which I use for the Midnight Run. The first one is loitering for hipsters. The second is, which is the title of this talk, not all those who wander are lost. And the last one goes like this. 'Cause we can't see the stars for fumes, we turn to smashed glass, believing shards shine like constellations do. My name is Ellams. I write poetry, and I also hold midnight runs. Thank you.